After months of supply disruptions, fertilizer markets had finally started to show signs of cooling. Urea prices appear to be losing momentum as buying slowed, and many expected the market to take a breather. But now, India has stepped back into the market with a major purchase tender, raising fresh questions about whether the recent weakness was only temporary. Joining me now to discuss what's happening is Josh Linville, VP of Fertilizers at StoneX. Josh, always good to see you. So it looked like the urea market was finally starting to lose some steam. So what's changed with this latest Indian tender?
Yeah, things seemed like they were finally getting to the top of this short-term mountain. You know, the whole thing got kicked off with the French government's payback to the farmer. They call it a scheme. It's the same thing we're doing here in the U.S. and a lot of other places around there have done. It's a subsidy payment to help offset things that the government have done to drive up the fertilizer price. Of course, they jumped all over it. Values were down significantly from where their highs were. The government was giving them a kickback. Of course, they were going to jump in. It's great for the French farmers. But unfortunately, got everybody else excited around the world and prices started to drive higher. Well, they had finally started to slow down. The rest of the world was looking at the price and saying, yeah, no, I'm good. I don't need anything to do with this.
Right.
If the market had stayed quiet, I think we would have started to see values start to turn over, start to drop. But it got a lifeline, unfortunately, for farmers around the world. RCF is going to handle this India purchase tender. Looks like they're looking for about 1.7 million ton. Unfortunately, for those of us in the Western hemisphere of the world, 1 million of the 1.7 million ton is destined for West Coast ports. That means the North Africans, Middle Easterns, folks like that are going to be looking at that. They get the bigger share of this purchase tender. The other 700,000, of course, being the East Coast. Offers are due by August 11th. It's always important to note, this thing does not tell the story until it's completely done.
Right.
August 11th with RCF handling it. I don't expect that we're going to see the offer information by then. My guess it's going to be a day or two or three afterwards. That's typically their MO on how they approach these things. But this is a lifeline. Now the world can sit there and say, oh, this is a big amount of tons. We can go after it. We can get on this. And what's more important in my mindset, this doesn't make it right. But my mindset is, now we are late enough into the calendar. By the time these offers are due on August 11th, we're almost halfway through the month. And these offers can sit there and say, if the low price is too low, I'm willing to take a shot. I'm willing to ignore or refuse India because I think there's other demand coming. I am late enough into the buying cycle. We're now starting to move out of that summer demand lull into the next buying rounds around the world. And if everything around the world is still going on with Russia, with the Strait of Hormuz, European production rates, all these things around the world, I think manufacturers are going to be a lot more willing to step back and say, yeah, I don't need to get desperate. I don't need to get aggressive. I think I've got options.
Could it put a floor under prices?
I think so. That's my fear. We never know until the things are done. And I am hoping there is something I'm missing and prices will start to fall. Because let's face it, farmers around the world are not doing well with urea prices where they are today. Lord forbid they move even higher.
Yeah.
I think that's ultimately going to be one thing that keeps this thing scaled back a little bit. But as we look to this fertilizer year 2027, which we start July 1st, it's a lot of demand out there. Unfortunately, farmers are going to farm and you need a certain amount of nitrogen to raise that crop.
All right, let's turn to phosphate now. Morocco is once again shipping phosphate to the U.S. after tariffs were suspended, which we talked about last time. But it's sending triple superphosphate rather than the more familiar DAP or MAP. Why is that?
I think it accomplishes two goals. Number one, most important, they can stand up and say, thank you, President Trump, for your suspending the countervailing duties against our phosphate imports into your country. American farmers need Moroccan phosphate. It's the wave of the future. We are going to support you because you supported us. And from a politician standpoint who knows very, very little about the marketplace, they're going to see, oh, they're sitting a vessel of something phosphate-based. This is a great thing. We told you we were going to do it. We told you we were going to fix this thing. The unfortunate truth is
not the right phosphate.
Not the right one. It's not one that's hugely popular. And listen, I know why they're doing it. I fully understand why it is what they are doing. Triple superphosphate doesn't require the inputs that are so tightly supplied and so high cost around the world. It's just a manufacturing, you kick it out. They're trying to build this. This is actually the new manufacturing line they're trying to build right now, a 2.4 million ton per year triple superphosphate line. They're trying to move away from the typical DAP and MAP products. Fortunate part of it is we are all creatures of habit. I am, a lot of retailers are, a lot of farmers are. If we've used DAP all of our life, we want DAP. If we've used MAP all of our life, we use MAP. Triple, it doesn't have a great track record. That does not mean that the Moroccan product is not going to be good. It could be superb product for all I know. There's just been some stories out there, stuff that's come in the past, didn't quite meet what people were looking for. Dusty, stuck together. Once you get a single problem, people remember that. And I think it's going to be hard for them to build that market. And just ultimately, it's phosphate. It's coming over. It does help supplies. It is a good thing. I don't want people thinking everything I say is negative. It is a great thing to see phosphate coming from there again. Unfortunately, it's the right product, just the wrong type. So we'll see how this goes. And hopefully this isn't the only thing that gets shipped over. Hopefully we start to see more get loaded. Maybe the next one's DAP. Maybe the next one's MAP. And that will be a huge help.
Okay, understood. And one last thing, when you take a step back, and we've talked a lot about this over this past year, it's been a very volatile market. Are fertilizer markets still driven more by geopolitics than by supply and demand fundamentals? We have, I think, 3 wars going on right now. What's your take on that?
Yeah, it's unfortunately these wars, these events continue to impact the S&D. And it's more on the supply side, right? Because a lot of these things are reducing or cutting off a lot of the flows that are so important around the world. I mean, you talk about the Strait of Hormuz being closed, the Red Sea being threatened. Well, that means that we're losing urea. That means we're losing anhydrous. We're losing sulfur. We're losing gas. We're losing finished goods coming out of there. We're losing phosphate. It's just a massive, massive amount of product overall. And it's so many different layers. There's the actual product, and then there's the inputs to all these other products that need to be produced around the world. The Russia-Ukraine thing, I still don't feel like the market is talking enough about it. Ukraine is doing such a good job of attacking Russian vessels. Now they're keeping it to the shadow fleet, right? They're not just indiscriminately going after boats anywhere out there. They're picking and choosing which ones go after. But we got to remember, back in 2022, part of it was the grain prices going up. That certainly helped at the onset of the Russia-Ukraine war.
Yeah.
But a lot more of it was the fear that we were going to lose Russian exports. If we start to get into a situation where their exports do start to slow, either because it's a fear of an attack on the port, either because it's vessels refusing to enter Russian boats because they are ports because they don't want to get attacked. Anything that reduces Russia's export capacity, it is across the board. It is not a single product. It is UAN, it's urea, it's anhydrous, it's phosphate, it's potash. They are a major exporter of every single product out there. Europe, their refusal of trade with Russia continues to keep the Nord Stream pipelines from being repaired to get those cheap flows coming back in so they can bump up their manufacturing rates. There's just a lot of stuff going on that has a lot more to do with government politics than has anything to do with our own little S&D. And it does have to do with the S&D, right?
Yeah.
Because it is impacting our supply, which is impacting our demand. Yeah. But it's all being driven by these government things. It's a lot of war that's impacting a lot of our supply routes.
Okay, well then, what do you think? Even if some of those geopolitical risks were to be gone tomorrow, would fertilizer prices come down quickly, or has the damage already been done?
I think, let's say we wake up in a world tomorrow morning. The Strait of Hormuz is back to open. We're friends with Iran again, whatever that looks like. Russia and Ukraine kiss and make up and say, oh, we can be 2 separate countries and we don't need to invade each other. We're done. All of a sudden, repairs start to be made to the Nord Stream pipeline, and Europe can start to think about restarting that 25% offline nitrogen production. I think you will see a quick sell-off, only because the bulls in the market are going to say, get me out of these positions this instant.
Yeah.
And you're going to start to see prices fall because of that, because your buyers are going to disappear. Your sellers are motivated. Of course, prices are going to fall. The issue is a lot of these problems have been going on for 5+ months. It's a very, very long time. And unfortunately, I still think even if everything corrected today, I still think we've got a situation where the market is kind of messed up from a supply side through spring of 27, through say March, April, May. I think we're still going to look back and say, listen, guys, the whole thing started February 28th. It just got worse and worse and worse. And even if it ended August 1st, that's a very large part of the calendar that was impacted. So I think supplies are going to be tighter. I think manufacturers will be better sold. A well-sold manufacturer means they are patient and they can ask for higher prices. And when the buyer says no, they can say, okay, let's try this again in a week or 2. I don't need to sell you today. I am very comfortable.
Yeah.
We'll see if you'll pay it next week.
Understood. Josh, thank you as always for all your insight. And thank you to our viewers for watching. For more financial content, don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel. See you next time.